Got a couple of nicknames of yours here: Legend, Icon, Mr. Entertainment, The Midnight Idol, and Mr. Las Vegas. No other name is synonymous with Las Vegas more than yours, Mr. Wayne Newton. Thank you for being here.
I am very honored to be here, and thank you very much for the kind words.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, I just want to run over a couple of things here. You've recorded and released an astounding 165 albums so far. You've performed live in front of more than 40 million people during a record run of 25,000 plus shows. That's in Las Vegas alone. You've been performing since you were 6 years old, and you're still touring. You're bringing your up close and personal tour to the MGM Northfield Park on Saturday, October 12th. My question is, do you take a lot of pleasure in making the rest of us seem lazy?
The truth of the matter is that my parents took me to see a Grand Ole Opry show when I was 3 years old. And on the stage was Hank Williams, Hawkshaw Hawkins, and Kitty Wells. We were so far up in the balcony that I couldn't see them. But I found myself looking around at the people's faces next to me. And I saw the smiles and the happiness that those performers brought those people. And I said to my mother, that's what I want to do. And that's what I meant. And I have never stopped. It gives me the reason to wake up every morning.
Well, I love to hear it. My father retired last year, and I wish he had that same ethic, but unfortunately, we can't get him out of his chair.
Well, I decided many years ago that so many people that I knew that did retire did not live very long. And so I decided that's not going to be in my vocabulary or in my future.
Well, you certainly have been doing some living, and you are going to talk about it, from what I understand. Tell us about your show that people can see at the MGM.
Well, it's a show that I wrote because I realized when you can look back on your life, retrospect, right? How many people went out of their way to make sure I survived this industry. And those people became friends, they became mentors. And I decided to do a show that talks about the people that helped me along the way and made sure that I stayed on the straight and narrow and I wasn't doing stupid things. And so that's what this show is about. And we have lots of video footage showing those people, and they were great stars. I mean, you name it: Elvis Presley, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis, Bobby Darin, Mr. Vinny, Lucille Ball, on and on and on and on. And that's what the show is about.
It's multimedia, as you said, so people get to actually see these clips and stuff of from back in the day and from your heyday with the people who you performed with. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Cool.
And of course, coming to Cleveland brings back an awful lot of memories too, because my wife and family is from Cleveland. And so Michael Stanley was my brother-in-law for a period of time. And
That's unbelievable to me. I just
wonderful
learned
human
that.
being.
It is so weird that Michael Stanley was your brother-in-law for a time. So for a while, Mr. Las Vegas and Mr. Cleveland were brother-in-laws.
Yes, we were. Yes,
Interesting.
we were.
I actually have one of his albums here. Forgive the Body album cover, but that is a Michael Stanley classic right there, just so you know.
Oh, well, they don't come any better than Michael was. He was an incredible human being.
You also have another Cleveland connection. As you said, your wife is from here. You did the wise move. You made the wise choice of getting your wife from Cleveland.
I tell you that life without her would not be worth living. And I shudder to think that that could ever happen.
I've got to ask you about one more connection that you have with Cleveland. According to this, tell me about your relationship with Bob Hope.
He opened a children's home in Cincinnati, Ohio, and we used to do shows every year to raise money for that orphanage. And when in the year 2000, when Mr. Hope could no longer travel for health reasons, he and the USO called me and they asked if I would take over his position as chairman of the celebrity circle with the USO, which I've been doing since the year 2000. and I'll be doing that the rest of my life.
Big shoes to fill. That's an intimidating spot right there, but I know you're doing it with distinction. I see you've made 16 overseas journeys to active war zones so far.
We have been in every major active war zone that we have been in. And I started doing that when I was 18 because I got turned down for the draft because I had bronchial asthma. And so I thought, well, they can stop me from fighting for my country, but they can't stop me from singing for my country.
In researching you, I just found out so many fascinating Wayne Newton facts, but you really don't know what's to believe on the internet these days. So I want to bounce them off you and tell me if these are true or false, okay? These might be way off base. Wayne Newton fact, true or false? You are the best-selling Vegas act of all time.
I think because I've been here longer than any other act is the reason that happened, but it is true.
Does it keep you up at night worrying that Carrot Top might pass you one day?
Carrot Top is a dear friend of mine. And no, in fact, I think he would have to live a lot longer to pass some, because I got started here when I was 15.
True or false? Wayne Newton can play 13 different musical instruments.
That is true, and I do not read a note of music. It happened because we started in the lounges doing, when I was 15, 6 shows a night, 6 nights a week, 40 minutes on, 20 minutes off. And I was the only singer in our group. And so you can't sing that much. And I kept developing instruments to give me vocal relief. And so to date, it's added up to 13.
What is the oddest of those instruments, or the most obscure of those instruments that you play?
I think the most difficult one that I had to learn was violin. And I was in a little town in Nevada, playing a lounge, and there was a country group on, and they had a fiddle player. And he said to me, "Would you teach me to play guitar?" I said, "If you teach me violin." And he did. So that was the difficult one for me.
That's very cool. And somewhere that fiddle player gets to say, you know, I taught Wayne Newton how to play the fiddle.
Only when I play it well.
That's a great story. Yeah. Going out on your world tours, you used to actually pilot your own plane and helicopter.
I learned how to fly a helicopter when I was in Vietnam, entertaining our troops. I was there twice. And I fell in love with helicopters. I can fly a fixed wing, but I'm not good at it. And so I guess that's half correct.
That's very cool, though. Of course, Wayne Newton can also fly planes. Okay, here's just a couple more. True or false? You and Elvis Presley were once unknowingly simultaneously dating the same woman.
That is true. And I met Elvis for the first time, and I was doing a Bonanza episode as a guest star. And so we shot that at the Paramount Motion Picture Lot. And I was sitting there studying my script because it was my first time acting. And I felt somebody tap me on the shoulder. And I turned around, and it was God. You know, it was Elvis. He didn't have on his cape and stuff, but it was Elvis. And there was some conversation went on. Finally, he said, "I'm doing a movie on the next set here at Paramount." And he said, the guys in the band told me you were here. So I came over to ask you a question. I said, "Sure, Elvis." And he said, "Do you know a girl by the name of blah, blah, blah?" I said, "Well, yes, I do. In fact, we're dating." And he said, "So are we."
Wow.
Luckily, we both started to laugh and became instantaneous friends for the rest of his life. And he was one great human being.
And man, that woman obviously has an amazing story to tell as well.
Yes, she does. In fact, she married Wink Martindale. And they have been married 47 years to date. So they're still dear friends.
True or false? You toured for a period of time with pinup bombshell Jane Mansfield.
I was her opening act in Buffalo for 2 weeks. I think that's when my voice finished changing. And so then she went on with the rest of her tour, and I went to Australia to open a new nightclub.
True or false? You were an honorary pallbearer at Frank Sinatra's funeral.
That is true. He looked out for me when I was in the lounges. And whenever he was doing a special show to raise money in Vegas for the university or a different charity, he always made sure there was time on that show for me to perform, which I never understood because there was a major age difference. And his wife told me years later that that was Frank's way of looking out for me to make sure I survived this industry.
True or false? You once were an on-screen villain in a James Bond movie.
That's true. I played a professor, actually a preacher, who was selling drugs on television, and that was part of that my character. I love playing characters that are not me because what happens when they write Wayne Newton in the script, then they write things that Wayne Newton wouldn't do or say.
Yep.
And so that's I look forward to doing stuff that I don't play myself in.
Speaking of acting, you improvised a lot of your lines in Vegas Vacation. Is that true?
That is true. The part where Uncle Eddie pats me on the hair and pushes it down, that was ad lib, and also the part where I open the door to Beverly when she comes to the ranch and I'm in a karate gi. That was supposed to be regular clothes, and I decided to wear my karate gi. And then I think the most fun would be the one where I give Ellen a piece of my hair, a little box as a gift. It was supposed to be a keychain with my picture on it. And I said to the director, Wayne Newton wouldn't do that. And he said, how do you know?
Last one, for real this time. You were good pals with President Ronald Reagan.
Yes, I was. He became a dear friend of mine before he ran for president. And when he ran for president, we did numerous fundraiser shows for him when he was running for president. So he was a dear friend. And in fact, the white horse that you see him ride in some of the clips and all those kind of things is a horse I gave him.
That's right, because you also, now you saved me asking this, true or false, you have one of the greatest collections of Arabian horses in the known world.
Yes, I do. I have been breeding Arabian horses for over probably 50 years. And we have shipped horses all over the world, literally. And the last group went to Israel. And they bought 15 head of my breed of Arabian horse.
Well, you went from really making your bones first on a song where you mentioned that you have to go Dutch with a girl on a date. And now you're selling Arabian horses to Israel. You've really come a long way, sir.
Well, I'm doing things that I love, and that makes it easy and gives me a reason to wake up.
I have one quote for you. Someone once said, Las Vegas without Wayne Newton is like Disneyland without Mickey Mouse. And that couldn't be more true. But we're glad you're going to be leaving it briefly to join us here in Cleveland, which is really your second home as far as I'm concerned. The music, the stories, the songs, the hits, the classic home movies with living legend, iconic entertainer, Mr. Las Vegas, up close and personal, spend an evening with a legend, Saturday, October 12th, 7:30 at MGM Northfield Park. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, my friend. I thank you for your kindness.